Hey guys, it's Heather again. I hope the lighting is okay for this. I don't want to turn on the big light because I think it'll drown everything out too much. But anyways, today is Thursday and I usually have class, but our teacher is out of town. She's actually on the board of nursing for my state, so she's doing some kind of board member thing for that. So we did not have class today or yesterday, which was really nice. I got together with my study group yesterday, though, for probably about 5 or 6 hours, which is normally how long I'm in class on Wednesdays. And we went over our lectures. She put our lectures online. And we also went over some stuff for our next check-off. And today we were supposed to get together too, but I think all of us are a little worn out and we all decided to sleep in. I have a clinical meeting with my instructor today, though, because he's not going to be here tomorrow. Tomorrow we have our actual orientation for it, so we're having the people that are in my group are having to meet up today. So in a couple of hours, I'm going to have to go up to the school anyways and go up meet up with him. But anyways, as for what's been going on with school, I told you guys I would update again about my tests. I told you about my first test and my first check-off. And since then, I've had 2 more tests and 1 more check-off. The second check-off that I had was over basic wound care. And like I told you guys before, it's an extremely simple check-off. There's not really that much to it. I unfortunately did not do as good as I did the first time. I ended up getting a 98, which is still really, really good. But I was really disappointed because I felt that basic wound care was just more basic than even taking vital signs. But I had the girl that I got for my check-off instructor, she's not an actual instructor here. She's like kind of an adjunct faculty, but not even that really. I'm not sure what she is. And she's really tough. Like, she takes off for a lot of things. And she took off a point for my documentation, which I didn't necessarily think was fair because we hadn't had a documentation lecture yet, which we had that same week, but a couple of days later. So I kind of didn't really feel like that was very fair. I didn't know that you weren't supposed to skip lines when documenting, and I didn't know there was something else she counted off on. I can't remember now, but she counted off for me not putting in military time, even though at the time that I took my check off it was 12:30, which in military time and regular time that's still 12:30. So I think that she got confused on what time it was. But the other point that she took off for was also documentation, but this part was my fault. When you document any wound care that you have to use, or any just kind of thing that you're using supplies for, you have to document the supplies that you use, and I just completely forgot to do that. I was really nervous yet again. I tried not to be, but they went in opposite order this time, and I'm number 38, so I was one of the very first people to go. We're down to like 41 people now, I think, or maybe even 40, so I was one of the very first people to go, and that kind of threw me off guard, considering the fact that last time I had to wait in the other lab for over 2 hours before it was my turn, so I'm going to have to get used to how to prepare myself better when I'm, first like that. But I didn't document the supplies that I used, which was really my fault, and I was really upset that I did that because I did know that I just completely forgot. There was also a few little technical difficulties I had. The mummies, the dummies that we have, they have like parts of their body that can be removed, and they have like the part of their stomach can be removed, so I guess they can have like either like a plain stomach, or you can have like, I guess you could palpate it and find like lumps or something. But the stomach that they had in there obviously had like an abdominal incision, and whoever taped the original dressing down like put the tape all the way under the insert, the tummy insert, and so it was like I couldn't get the tape off because it was stuck underneath their skin, I guess you could say. And so that like really like made me flustered and threw me off a little bit. But I didn't get points counted off for that because that obviously wasn't my fault. But I was just like, really, that had to happen? Like, that really sucks. But anyway, so yeah, I made a 98, which was fine. Like, that's still an A no matter what, and that's still a really high A, so I'm fine with that. I just am disappointed that I forgot such, an important thing, even though it was only 1 point's worth. Still, it's important. So our next test that we had was in my nursing and health and illness class, and oh my gosh. Okay, so our first test was relatively easy. I think probably 98% of the people I talked to made an A. I know a couple people who made a C and a B, but the majority of people that I talked to made an A. So we were all feeling really good from that first test for the most part. So we get into the second test, and we all have studied our butts off, especially me and the girls in my group. That test was ridiculously hard. I pull up my grade, and I'm like shaking because I've been taking a long time on it, and I'm usually a pretty fast tester, but this time I'm taking my time because I'm just like, wow, this is like way different than what I expected. And I'm kind of looking around as other people are getting up. I get distracted like that sometimes, and I see really like upset faces from everybody, and I'm just like, oh no, like this is not a good sign. This is not a good sign. A girl in my class, like who I know is really smart and studies really hard, when she got up from her test, I saw the teacher kind of pat her on the shoulder and say it's okay. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? Why is everybody failing? And or not, why is not everybody failing, but what is going on? Like, why is everybody so disappointed looking? And so then I like tentatively raise my hand, like, oh no. And she pulls my grade up, and I have an 85, and I'm just like, well, okay, that's a B. I don't really want a B, but if everybody else is doing poorly, then, you know, that's fine with me. So, there were some very upset people in my class, including a really good friend of mine, because I would say probably 80% of the class failed the test. So it was a really big eye-opener for people on how you need to study for these nursing school tests, and just how you need to apply what you learn to the actual tests. So going back, I was very happy to have made that 85, considering how many people failed. But when we do our test reviews, they don't throw out questions, but I don't know if I said this in the last video, but you know, like there's 2 right answers, at least for now. There's going to be 2 answers that are right. If the vast majority of the class chooses that other right answer, they will give you credit for it. Like if you chose A and B, like the 2 right answers are A and B, and you chose B, but the technical correct answer was A, but a lot of people chose B, they'll give you credit for B. If you chose C or D, you don't get credit for it. But if you chose A or B, they will. So after we did the test review, I got 2 questions added back to mine because I chose the other right answer, which brought me up to a 90, which is still a B. And then one of the questions that was on there, it was a select all that apply question, and it said that I got that one wrong, but I know for a fact that I had gotten it right, and a lot of other people had an issue with that too. So our teacher went back in the computer and double checked, and something with the computer flubbed up on that, so we ended up getting another extra credit point if you really did get that question right. So I ended up with a 92.5, which is an A. So I was happy with that. I kind of think that, you know, that it was actually an 87.5 was my real grade, because it messed up even on the computer, the select all that apply question. So the 87.5 I really count as my real grade, but the grade that goes, like, you know, in our grade book is the 92.5. So I did end up getting an A for that. So I was pleased, especially, like I said, considering how poorly the rest of my class did, which wasn't necessarily their fault. It's just the first couple tests you're not really sure what to expect. So anyways, we had our next test actually this past Tuesday, and that was in our basic nursing skills class, and we studied a lot for this one as well. And compared to the nursing and health and illness test, this one was really easy. However, when I pulled my grade up, I got an 87.5, which I was just flabbergasted that I got a B, especially, like, it's not the highest B you can get. The highest B you can get is a 90, so I was really disappointed in that, because I just felt like I really studied a lot, and I felt like I knew my stuff. Like I was really expecting a high A on that screen to pop up. So we haven't done our test review yet. I'm not sure what I missed, but yeah, I feel really like silly for being so upset about that. I've never necessarily always been a straight A student. I've always been an AB student. But in these nursing courses, it just really means a lot to me to do as best as I can. So I'm having to kind of calm myself down and deal with it, especially since there's some people that I know that didn't do as well as I did. They made C's, but I know a lot of people who made A's. So yeah, I'm just kind of disappointed in that. They throw out a couple of questions so I can get that technical A. I still will count myself as getting a B, and that I need to study a little bit harder, but I just really wanted an A, especially since I felt like this test was so much easier than the last test. And I don't know if I just kind of psyched myself out for this one because I was so afraid, like, oh my gosh, like, what if I just got lucky last time? or, you know, I just happened to choose the right answers. I mean, I felt like I knew my stuff, but that last test was extremely difficult. But anyways, this nursing world is different entirely. It's crazy. We've only had our first 3 tests and 2 checkoffs, and I'm already starting to feel a little bit burned out. Like, I've never had to study this much in my life. I usually take 1 day off a week where I don't really do anything, and even that is starting to not feel like enough. My husband, he works full-time and he goes to school full-time, so we don't see each other hardly ever anymore, it seems like. And the other night we both had a night off together, kind of, and we were going to go to the movies and all this stuff, have a little date night, and we both fell asleep by 9:30, and we slept for like 12 hours. We both slept until 9:30 the next morning because I didn't have class and he didn't have to go to work until noon. So it was crazy. It's crazy, but it's all going to be so worth it in the end. Our next test is next Thursday, and that's in my Foundations of Nursing class. I'm not too concerned about that test. I'm obviously going to study as hard for it, but I'm not super concerned about it. It's pretty straightforward, the stuff that we're learning, and it's only 3 modules, which is it's nice to have it really concise like that. We also have 2 checkoffs coming up. One is over ambulation, transfer, range of motion, so that's something I'm going to have to really practice on because I'm not very strong, and we had like kind of a weird practice day for it, but we have another practice day this next week, thank goodness. And then our next checkoff is over physical assessment. I do mine next Friday the 8th. We have to come like outside of class and we have to tape it with a partner. So I'm not as nervous for that just because I'm going to have a partner there which will help calm me down, and the instructors aren't watching you right then. There's only somebody recording you. So that will be really nice. The physical assessment isn't hard. It's just a lot of steps to remember. And there's certain things you absolutely have to put in your tape, and then there's other things that are kind of optional, so it's kind of hard to pick and choose which ones you should do, and you have to be within a 20-minute time frame, so that's going to be a little bit tricky. But anyways, guys, I don't really have that much else to say besides that. My study tips, still, I'm gonna have to start reading the book a little bit more. The people that made the A in this past basic nursing skills class said they've really been reading the book and not following the modules so much. So I think I'm gonna start reading the book a little bit more than following the modules. The modules are really time consuming, so I don't think switching it off with the reading will really, you know, take up that much more time and stuff. So I'm probably just going to start doing reading more, honestly. I think that's a really big part of it, and I have a pretty good memory to where I don't necessarily have to memorize everything I read, and sometimes I just see a question and that triggers something in my memory. Oh yes, I read something about that. That's the right answer. So hope this video isn't too long for you guys. Again, if you have any questions, let me know, and I hope you guys are enjoying your programs. I am enjoying mine, even though I am a little winded right now from it, but I hope you guys have a great weekend coming up, and I will update you guys again as soon as I can. Thanks again, guys. Have a good day. Bye.